Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. We have 65 people with us this morning for the beginning of the NOFO. Welcome. We're going to talk about renewal application process in CT BOS for the first half, and then for the second half, we're going to talk Howard's going to join us, Howard Birchman from Housing Innovations, and we're going to talk about indirect costs and lots of good information about that. There will be this webinar is being recorded, and we'll post it to the CT BOS website afterwards. We're going to try to post it in two parts. The first part for the renewal app, the second part for indirect costs. I'm joined by my coworkers here, Liz Isaacs and Miles Wensek, who I'm grateful for their assistance. You all may know and love. Feel free to ask questions if you have questions along the way. Raise your hand. There is going to be space, but if you want to stop us, I think there will be time in the middle if you also have questions in the middle. There are going to be lots of screens. We have a lot of screenshots in this presentation. So if we're kind of have them in for reference, we're not going to stop and talk about each one of them, but they each have details, 1, 2, 3, this is what you do on this screen, and so on. So there's some slides here that we're not going to go into a lot of detail on.
Yeah, and Shannon, you described it to me. So this is really meant to be a companion for you as you're completing your application. So as Shannon mentioned, we're not going to go through every single slide and read through them, but if as you're doing your application, you have this or 2 screens up, so you can look at this. That's sort of what this is for. Please ask questions. I always say there are no dumb questions because so much is just not intuitive. So please jump in, stop us. And I will put we sent the PowerPoint out yesterday through CT BOS, and I will put it in the chat box right now.
And it is also on the website on competition, the COC competition website, so you can get it there too. And we also have linked the HUD resources for renewal applications too. So you have a couple companions you can use as you go through your renewal app process. The agenda, welcome, goals of the training. There is an introduction to eSNAP slide. This is mostly for people who've been in eSNAPs before though. There's some new information about admin funding, talk about walking through the applicant profile before you start your renewal app, the renewal app section, timeline, and resources. So we're going to focus a bit on what's new and noteworthy. Again, that slide on project admin funding, and then a refresher on the different parts of the application. So before we get excited that we're all in this together, I want to take the opportunity to take a couple of deep breaths, because I don't know about you all, but NOFO time. You know, I'm gonna, somebody just told me my audio is going in and out. So I'm going to turn my camera off because sometimes you can hear me better. It takes less energy or something if my camera's off. But I'm going to ask us all to take a deep breath together, or a couple deep breaths, because NOFO time, I was starting to say, I don't know about you all, but it strikes fear in my heart. I don't know if it does to you. So we're going to get through it. We're going to walk through this application process together, and it's going to be okay. It's been okay every year in the past. It's going to be okay this year. So I'm just going to pause and take a deep breath in and out, and one more, in and out. And remember, we're all in this together.
Thanks, Shannon. Shannon has really good energy. That's contagious. So let's all catch it.
So new this year, there is a form which has a very exciting name, SF424B, Assurances Non-Construction Program, and that's slides that Miles or Liz will go through. Also new this year for YHDP projects, there's an option to have instead of reallocation, they have the option for replacement projects. So that is very new. We're not going to focus on that today. We hope to do a webinar for that either next week or the following week, sometime soon. And HUD is also doing a webinar this week where they're going to give all of us additional information on that. So more to come on YHDP replacement projects. Applying for admin funds, there's some new information on that, as I mentioned. And how to ask questions. There's new, it used to be the AAQ, the Ask a Question feature on the HUD Exchange website. And now there's new options to do that this year. But don't submit competition questions or questions about eSNAPs to this. Yeah, so that's what it says. Don't send them to the AAQ help desk. You have to send them to one of those two, COC NOFO or eSNAPs. What is eSNAPs? It's the name that HUD has given for the database that contains the application forms that are submitted electronically during the annual competition under the COC. It used to be NOFA, as many of you know, and the A was for funding availability. Now they changed it to O, so it's funding opportunity instead of availability. In eSNAPs, but I'm going to have a hard time. I'm going to say NOFA a lot, probably. In eSNAPs, the collaborative applicants complete the COC application file. So collaborative applicant is CT BOS, and they submit the COC registration prior to the NOFO. Homeless assistance providers, you all complete project applicants and the applicant profile and submit one or more project applications. Project admin funds, hold on. So in 2021, in the 2021 competition, projects are allowed, we asked HUD, projects are allowed to increase their HUD COC project admin budget line to 7% without a grant agreement amendment. So the total project costs have to remain the same, has to be the same that's on your GIW. So you have to move, if you are increasing your admin, you have to move it from another budget line. If for the rental assistance line item, you are not allowed to reduce the unit number or the unit size. You can't just choose a different unit size because that's less money. It has to be the same configuration of rental assistance units. The amount of funds moved cannot be more than 10% of the budget line item you're moving the money out of. So for example, if you have a supportive services budget line item of $30,000, you may move up to $3,000, 10% from that line item. The changes below require a grant agreement amendment. So adding a new project, so if you don't have admin already, you cannot add admin. That requires a grant agreement amendment. Or shifting funds in excess of 10% from a budget line item also requires a grant agreement amendment. If you are new to eSNAPs, you log on to eSNAPs. You can do that from the HUD Exchange website. There's a link there. And you will get on the screen where it says front office in the top, and you will be prompted to create a profile. If you're not new, you'll just go to the login, enter your username and password. From the left-hand menu, then on the right side of the screen, from the left-hand menu, you choose applicant, then click the person icon for registrants. Click on the paperclip to add a registrant to the organization's eSNAP account. Make sure that you are linked to your organization's eSnaps account. Some people have access to a couple of different accounts. Make sure you're logged into the correct account. Here, linked here is the project applicant profile navigational guide. It's optional, but if you want to, if you're going to need additional assistance, Miles is very experienced in eSnaps, and if you give him access to your account, if you put him in as a user, he can look at if you're really having issues, he can look at and walk through things with you. There's a question, right?
Yes.
You
I
answered it.
put a note in that Howard's going to talk about the difference between admin funding and indirect, because they are different and have different uses. I'm not sure about the recommendation. So, I mean, I think what our recommendation now is to ask for what you need within the parameters that have been set. So if you need admin and it's truly admin activities, then you should ask for up to the 7% again within the rules and regulations. And then Howard's going to go through indirect costs and the difference between admin and indirect costs and how to use that funding.
Yeah, but if through what we say and through what Howard says, it's not clear, ask that question again when Howard's here. Yeah, if you want more information. Applicant profile, everyone needs to update your applicant profile prior to starting your renewal application, because information from the applicant profile goes in and populates some of the information in the renewal application. If you're applying for more than $200,000 in total funding in this competition, you must list each project on HUD form 2880, which is in the applicant profile. So you click on applicants here on the left-hand menu, and then you click on the orange folder to open the applicant profile. Again, all applicant profile.
Probably more than half of the projects that make up BOS have either DOH or DEMIS as the applicant. So if you are a subrecipient, you do not need to bother with this.
And we've checked with those, Liz, right, that they are already updated?
Yes, so DOH and DEMIS have updated their applicant profiles, so subrecipients are all set to go in and do the work they need to do. Yep.
Right. To edit the applicant profile, you need to go to the last screen, so number 6 down here on the left menu, submission summary, and click edit. And then when you click edit, you can navigate to the form that you know needs updating. So this is form 2880. If you're, again, it's the same instruction. If you're applying for more than $200,000 in this NOFO, as it says in number 2, you must click yes. And then you'll be prompted to give information on those projects, on all the projects you're receiving. The amounts must be consistent with project applications submitted under the NOFO. So look at your GIW, look at your total, verify everything that's correct. Save it on this screen, and then you go to the submission summary again and click complete. I think there's another question.
Your sound just isn't great. I think someone
I think I might be almost done my slides, yeah, so somebody else will have better sound. Creating a renewal application. This section only needs to be done once for any applicant, no matter how many renewal applications you all have. It just needs to be done once. So you click on the left-hand menu, you see number 1, funding opportunity registrations. Number 2, confirm that who is listed under applicant is the correct organization listed. Number 3, click on the COC renewal project application FY 2021 for COC applications. Then there's a different one for YHDP. For YHDP, you click YHDP Renewal Project Application, FY 2021. To create a project for 2021, you click on Projects on the left-hand menu. Then you filter, and it'll be in the middle of the screen under Project Status Funding Opportunity Name. You click Renewal Project Application. It'll be 2021, not 20, well, 20, what does it say? It says for YHDP new application currently will show as FY 2019. But for all others, it'll be 2021. And then number 3, click on that little paper icon with the plus sign on it to open up the new project screen. Import last year's data on create project screen. So you name the new project where it says number 1 applicant project name. Please select the, and then number 2, import previous data here. So select the project name with a full grant ID at the end. If it doesn't have that ID, it's a draft or an incomplete version. So the best practice on naming the project is to have the grant ID in it. Put CT, whatever your grant number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, those first 4 digits, and then the grant name. I think, is that, are we on slide 10? I'm sorry, I can't see the number of slides.
Yes, you know what, Katie had just
20.
Okay, Katie just had a comment, which is great. I was going to mention it, but I'm glad she's mentioning it now. So YHDP folks should wait to see if they're going to submit a replacement project or a renewal. So you're not going to get started until that decision is made. And we're going to let you know very soon, probably later today, when the training on that will be. So YHDP folks are going to hold off if they think they are going to do a replacement project. Thanks, Katie.
And then somebody just asked what to do if you are a subrecipient for DMIS or DOH and eSNAPs. If you are, and you are usually the one who does your renewal application, it's okay to go ahead. They've already done the applicant profile update, so it's okay to go ahead and start your renewal project application.
Actually, Shannon, this is Alice from DMIS.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, everyone. I just am going to ask that people hold off on doing that until Thursday. There's a couple of projects that we have a couple of questions on, and we're going to be following up with that tomorrow afternoon. And so I don't want people to go in and try and do things when we haven't fully set up everything. So people could just hold off until Thursday, and we could send out, we could have Liz or Shannon send out a quick email to everyone letting them know for the DMIS projects on Thursday they can go ahead. I just want to follow up on one thing before we give the go ahead. So I appreciate everyone holding off until Thursday.
All right, thanks, Alice. I appreciate that. So you guys, Miles and Liz, you're gonna have to tell me when you are jumping in because I can't see the numbers on
Miles, I think this is you.
the slides. So SF 424, you must complete that before the full project application opens. I've had people call me and say, there's something wrong, I can't see everything on my project. And everything on your project does not populate until you complete this SF 424. So just so you know not to panic. Again, always a good idea not to panic. I have to remind myself that at times, but it's really true.
Yeah, if you don't complete the first section,
submissions,
I just want
go ahead, Miles.
And section 1, part 1, if you don't complete all the certifications and or anything else that will have an error message, section 2 or part 2 won't open up. So,
Right.
and most of it, section 1 is all, you know, clicking a button saying, I'm certifying this, I'm certifying that. So it's pretty straightforward. And the one question is 1D, which is the part of the SF 424. You'll have to change the dates, and that's the other piece that you could pass that and we'll still go to section 2, but you do need to fix that for 1D.
Yeah, I think that's that's another screen coming up. I think we'll show that. Yeah.
I just have one thing also. This is Lisa Callahan.
Hey, Lisa.
I will complete section 1 as in the past for all the DEMIS projects. So when it comes time to finish the applications for the DEMIS folks, the entire application will populate. So 1 through 8 or whatever that final number is.
Okay, is
Okay.
that, well, that doesn't necessarily have to be by Thursday. That doesn't have to be before people start their renewal applications, right?
Well, yeah, because I'll complete all of 1, so the rest of it will.
Okay.
So,
Sounds
but I'm
good.
almost done. Most of them have been completed. Actually, there's only 7 that I'm still looking at that will have questions answered, you know, by Thursday, and everybody should be all set by then.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Miles, I think might be you.
Yes, okay. So there's a new form in here. It's the SF 424B assurances for non-construction programs, which is everybody. So I would, when you go in here, make a copy of this, review it, make sure you are actually following all these items that they have listed here. There's 2 pages of this. There's quite a few things that you are certifying for the OMB. So just make sure, because you want to be in compliance if they actually audit you on these things. I mean, most of it's pretty straightforward, you know, hazardous stuff and everything else. Okay, so one of the pages of certification is checking a PIN number. This is very important because by accident, maybe you pulled the wrong application or it's pulling the wrong application. You want to make sure that the federal award ID is the number that the grant that you're actually reviewing and entering. And that's the CT and the first 4 numbers. In this case, I just took one of Demas' project 0011 and it populates there. This is the page I was talking about, 1D, just to make sure you change the start and end dates to 2022 and 2023. There's an exception if you start on January, then you would start on 2023, but that's the exception to the rule. There's only a few projects that have that, but most everyone else is going to be 2022 as a start date and an end date 2023. Make sure, also make sure your project is only the district. I mean, some people put their applicant profile might have all 5 COCs, I mean, districts, the congressional districts, but the project is not in all 5 congressional districts. Just put the one that actually belongs to for the project.
I just wanted to say, after reviewing many projects, the start and the end date is a common thing that people miss. So just to pay particular attention to that.
Yeah, I usually do send that back quite often. Submission without changes. There is, if you're not going to make any changes, with the exception is next page, that you can actually make changes while hitting the submissions without changes. But to go in here, after you hit the submissions, you go to submissions without changes, and you click that page and it opens up another screen. I think and this is the screen that opens up. And then you answer all these questions, and then this one has little check marks of things that they're changing anyway. But then you could press the ones that you're going to change, and you check mark it. But once you press the check mark, it will stay there permanently. You can't undo it. And if you accidentally hit something, you have to put in a note that you said, you know, like 4B, there were no changes. That was an accident. I didn't mean to make a change. For question 2, if you're going to make any changes, you just say make changes. If you're not going to make changes, then you take the other answer. I don't remember what it says. I think it's no changes. And question 1 is if you're reallocating any funds, which 90% of you guys are not, but might be an exception somewhere, where you're going to reduce your grant funds and give it to the COC to make new projects, then you will click yes, and otherwise you just click no because you're not reducing.
Yeah, we don't have anyone doing that. And then I just also wanted to add, you know, both HUD and BOS, we would encourage you to submit without changes unless you have changes. So, you know, just spend a minute thinking about it, seeing what's going on. And this isn't new to folks. It may be new to some folks this year, but we've had this in the past. So we would encourage you to keep as much the same as you can, as long as it's accurate.
Okay, so these areas are things that you don't have to submit no changes, and you have to still complete this: the recipient performance, renewal, expansion, renewal grant consolidation, if you're consolidating your grants, 3A project details, source match, all parts of 7, and then obviously all parts of 8, which is you're certifying the application. This is only, you're typically going to answer no on the first question for a renewal application requesting to consolidate or expand. If you are consolidating 2 or more grants, I think up to 4 grants you could consolidate. Yeah, 4 renewal grants into 1. Then you'll answer yes on this, but then there's 2 answers on question 2. One is a survivor, and the other one is terminating. The survivor
and Miles, let me just jump in. Some people are, if you are consolidating grants, please, before you do anything, contact us, because we need to know what's what. And we are happy for the few folks that may be doing this to walk you through this. We just wanted to let you know that, you know, what those screens look like, and that the most important thing though, takeaway is to contact us if you're going to consolidate anything right away, please.
Well,
We can probably move through.
going back though, don't you have to answer that question about survivor? If you're renewing, do you just put survivor?
Oh, no.
Nope.
If you're not consolidating, those questions don't pop up.
Oh, okay.
Only for consolidation. So that will pop up. And it's so survivor and terminated. But as Liz said, and COC and YHCPs, they're different types of grants. I don't believe you can consolidate those, but we'll have to check on that. I think that the answer is no on that, but.
Okay. Yeah. So let's just move through these, and then these are, I'll take these.
That's the other page of the, this is what the survivor page looks like on page 2. So we could skip this.
So we can keep these, Miles, and I'm going to jump in here. So Shannon, we can move on.
This is terminating. That's all it is. It's a different slide. Let's work on the terminating one.
All right, Miles, I'm going to take over here and keep us moving. So if you have project subrecipients, we just want, again, for you to look at this screen. Remember what you're going to include here will be the total expected subawards, and you're going to exclude cash match, rental assistance, etc. Okay. We can move on. Yep. So housing first, this is just important that everybody remembers that at the end of the day, you want your screen to say yes. Yes, so you're practicing housing first because everyone is. So you just want to make sure that this comes up every year. We'll get a couple questions here. If you forget to check one of the boxes, you'll get a no. And so people get panicky that the form told them no when it should be yes. So just make sure you're checking all your boxes and reading that. And again, you want housing first to be yes. Okay.
I just wanted to mention, if you said you're going to submit without changes, This may just pop up and you may not need to review as long as it says.
Yep. Great. Dedicated plus. So as you guys all know, or maybe remember, or if you're new, you might not know, but all of the PSH projects are dedicated plus. And so this will show up as a read only, but just remember that everybody is 100% dedicated plus. Okay. Supportive services. What's just important, and we remind folks here that if you indicated that it's a partner doing the services, that you should have some kind of formal agreement with them. And then the other thing that's just good practice to remember in this application and in all applications is that you're consistent on how you're answering the question. So if in your narrative and the way you're explaining your project, you talk about mental health services, then you would have that chosen here, same for all the other categories. So just that it's consistent throughout your application. Okay. Next, there we go. Housing type and location. So what's important here, and we'll keep saying it probably a few times, is that we want all the data that are in your application to match the GIW. The one exception is Shannon had talked about your ability to change your admin funding. So that could potentially change again within those, the rules and how you're allowed to do it. And we will make the GIW available for everyone. I know folks have asked that. And so not only do you want to make sure your funding amount matches, but you want to make sure that the units match. And then this just explains, you guys have done 4B many times, what it's going to ask you. Okay.
Only rental assistance.
Could you repeat what you just said? I apologize. Hello?
She'll repeat in a second.
Okay.
She muted herself by accident. The units, the only units that will be rental assistance
Okay. Yeah.
projects.
Right.
If you are leasing or the units won't show there, so then you just
Yeah.
have.
Okay, that's what confused me. All right.
Yeah. Do I go again?
Yeah, go ahead, Miles. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay, budgets. Renewal grants no longer need to provide detailed budgets, which is great. Summary budgets, and in the sections you'll notice you'll put like the leasing structure, you put this supporting supportive services, and then HMIS if you have HMIS. Budgets cannot change without an amendment, but minus the admin that was discussed a little while ago, the 7%. I would not recommend if you're going to get admin to change your rental assistance money, because then you go to actuals and then you're into that tight changes each and every year. Indirect cost rate, which will be discussed in length later, but there's a yes or no. If you're going to do an indirect cost rate, then you hit yes, and then you have to put the information you get it from. You could either say you're doing what was it, de minimis, I forgot the name of it, and that gives you just 10%, or you have some documentation from the feds, depending which government agency, and it says like 17, 19% and whatnot. And then you plug that in, and then you have to attach that in the attachments.
Could you shift to an indirect cost rate while you do this particular application? Because that, I know that Bob is interested in that.
Yeah, you know what? So Gary, Howard is going to tell you more than you ever wanted to know about indirect costs in the next hour. So we're going to let him field sort of all the ins and outs of indirect costs. And we encourage anyone who's even thinking about it to stay on and listen to him because it's not simple. It's not always straightforward, and people have so many questions. So that's my plug to stay from 11 to 12 to listen to Howard, or 11:15 to 12 probably.
Yeah, indirect cost rate would be great for a lot of agencies to have. Rental assistance budget, and due to last year's issue, first you got to make the type is TRA, SRA, or PRA. Make sure you pick the right FMR region, which are pretty easy and straightforward. But this is the one that messed up one agency last year, is if you are an FMR, you want to answer no. Don't accidentally say yes, and then enter HUD paid rate rent, HUD paid rent, and then match the FMR rate. They're not going to pay the FMR rate if you put actuals. So don't answer yes if you're not an actual rent project. 60 sources of match. Okay, we always recommend to go at 25%. Don't exceed it. 25% is the minimum you have to put here for all your, basically your tire grant funds minus leasing costs. So if you're leasing, as Gary has, he doesn't have to worry about having a match for leasing. But for everyone else, if you don't have leasing, everything has to be 25% be for your match. Don't go over 25, because if you put 50%, then HUD could monitor, and they should monitor, and they say they're expecting 50 that amount in your monitoring. If you don't have that amount, they could claw back funds because you're not meeting their compliance goals. We also recommend not to do third party in kind match. If you can, cash match is always better. And if you, the first question in there is, does the project generate program income? If you answer yes, you have to describe what it's for, and you must expend those funds that you get in this question in the operating year. If you don't expend it, you can't count it. It's only to be used in that short period of time. All right, as I said before, this is the summary screen, lease units and rental assistance. You have the other screens that populate in here, but lease structures, which no one should have lease structures, so that should always be a 0. The supported services operating in HMIS budgets, you plug in the amounts that you have here in your GIW, and you plug in the admin that you have on the GIW, unless you're increasing the admin and then decreasing something else. And then all the other gray areas will auto-populate, and then you should be good to go. There should be, if your match is not, if you didn't put your match yet, it's going to give you an error message saying you need 25,000 something as a match. So that's usually an error message that your match is not up to date.
Miles, can I interrupt for a second? So
Yes.
Let's say you do decide to go to indirect, and you could go up to 10%, but you normally have 7%. You have to actually take dollars out of some other line item in order for the total to be the same as it was in the GIW. Am I correct?
Well, you said indirect and changing. I think you're confusing two things. The indirect gets buried into the budget lines, which Howard will explain. So that doesn't have to change anything. You just press indirect, and so your indirect cost goes to leasing for you, and support services, and maybe operating, and your admin dollars. It goes in all the buckets. So 10% indirect, let's say it's 10%, will get buried in all 10 buckets, and you don't have to change your budgets at all. If you wanted to change your admin, which is a direct cost, admin is a quirky thing, to be honest here, but then you'll have to do a budget change, and you're shifting dollars around. But yeah, your total dollars should match your GIW.
Well,
So,
that's the point. And if you can go back one page that was on the screen,
yeah.
if we're changing that obviously to increase the leasing dollars under leased units, and then we have support services, operations, and admin. So if the admin is up to 10%, but normally we don't put 10% down,
No,
Yeah, I mean, that admin cost wouldn't, if it gets higher as an indirect admin, would it, because with the up to 10%, wouldn't that change, the total amount under the GIW? Or am I wrong here?
no, when you do,
But you keep talking about indirect. So we're not talking at all about indirect. We're just talking about admin. And so yes, if your admin goes up, another line will have to go down.
Right, well, all right, so
your indirect,
Excuse me about the indirect.
Yeah,
admin,
so
because-
wait, so you know what, let's hold this off because I want to get through the slides and let's hold this till we get done with the slides.
Okay,
indirect doesn't change your budget, so just think of it that way.
all right,
Your attachments. For attachments, there's 4 documents you have to put in here. If you are a subrecipient, this is only for subrecipients. The nonprofit document has to be attached, and that's in the first attachment box. If you have third-party in-kind match, you have to attach that. If you got a replacement reserve in your supportive services budget, what was the operating budget? If you got a replacement reserve, then you have to attach supporting documentation for that, which I never seen anyone have that. And then federally approved indirect cost rate. If you have one that's not de minimis, then you have to attach that. Hopefully you don't, in our case, we don't have replacement.
Great. Okay, I'm going to do these last slides on YHDP. And Katie and I will keep reminding folks that until we will keep messaging with you since it's a different year because there's a new potential option for folks. So we promise we'll do good messaging with you, but just hold tight until we've all been in touch about what's happening and the upcoming training. So that being said, you can always read ahead and look at the detailed instructions. And really this goes for all renewal folks, anybody completing a new application. I'm old school and unfortunately I'm still killed trees. And, I often will have one screen up and just go through page by page. Those of you much more tech savvy and with multiple screens, it's great to have the detailed instructions up. And your application up as you're completing it. So just a couple things. So in general, the YHDP application is going to look like the regular renewal application, but you just want to pay attention, make sure you choose the right component type because we've all clicked the wrong thing and then all of a sudden you get strange questions. Okay, next, Shannon. This comes up, so it's on part 4, only the HMIS project needs to complete this, even though it shows up in everyone's application. So every year people ask what we should do, you don't need to complete it. And then there are a couple quirky things in part 5, so this doesn't apply to HMIS and services only project, but you're going to see this. We just tell you HUD recommends putting 1 on screen 5A and then in the corresponding 1 in 5B so that you don't get an error message. And then every budget line selected will open up a text box for you to explain what's happening. Next. And this is what's new. Oh, Shannon, one before. So it's called the YHDP replacement project. We are going to do a training on it. And there are some instructions on what it's going to look like. So same thing, if you end up doing a replacement project, you're going to look at the detailed instructions. We're going to do a training and help you through it. All right, next. So this is our timeline, and this is not going to apply to the YHDP projects. We will give you a timeline again, ASAP, but you're going to be on a little bit of a different timeline than other projects. So I know Gary mentioned September 16th feels like it's right around the corner, which it is. But we like to get everybody moving in and out, and then you guys can put the NOFO behind you, most of you, and have your renewals done. We're here to help you. You can reach out to any of us for some help. What else do I need to tell you? So you're not going to hit. So folks who've done this for a number of years know that we're going to look at your drafts, and then we will be very explicit and let you know when it's time to hit the complete button and submit in eSnaps. But please don't do that until we give you feedback. And then final, some folks we have to go back and forth with a couple times, and that's okay. But we want them in eSnaps by October 11th. And most of you, the vast majority really will be able to submit much sooner than that. Great.
I just wanted to just highlight also this year we're using Zengen for the first time in order for people to submit their project applications to us. So you PDF your application as usual, and then there are instructions linked here on how to submit in Zengen.
Thanks, Shannon. Yes. And folks have done really, really well with this. And I'm like, I can even use Zengen, so I know everybody else can too, but holler if you're having any issues.
It's a good thing that this is recorded.
So these are guides, resources. I can't say enough. If you get stuck, again, contact us, but HUD really does. So they have two kinds of guides. You guys probably, many of you have used them. Some are the detailed instructions. So I'll tell you exactly what information you need to put in, but then there's the navigation guide, where to click, what to do, and they are helpful. We're your resource too, though. All right. Folks have been asking questions, but we have a couple minutes and we'd love to answer questions. And then what we thought we might do is Howard is supposed to be joining us between 11 and 11:15. So folks can, mute themselves, go.
Can't you see me here?
Oh, Howard's here. I lied.
I've been here for a while.
I didn't.
Oh, Howard's here.
Howard. Okay, so I lied. Howard's with us. I didn't see him in here. Great. So, before we let Howard tell you so much about indirect costs, does anybody want to ask any renewal application questions? Nothing. Okay. And then also, before we introduce Howard and switch over topics, I wanted to introduce Abby Miller, who's with us today. And some of you may have had the opportunity to interact with her when she was at HUD, but we're so excited. She's part of the Housing Innovations team, and she will be helping BOS out. I don't know if do you have a camera on, Abby, or are you?
Yeah, I can start it.
Oh,
Just putting her on the spot.
Your voice is good. Oh, there's Abby. So
No.
just wanted to introduce her to those of you who don't know her. To those of you who know her, she's so fantastic and has great knowledge and brings so much to our team. So we're really excited. So thanks,
Thank you.
Abby.
Just one note. The last document on the certification, the 7B certification, I wouldn't check